Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome back. It is week 10 of the college football season, the 2022 college football season, week 11 of the Carla and Crappy show. I am Crappy. My nickname this week is appropriate. Nissan has the Heisman House. The Carla and Crappy show has the COVID House, which is where I'm living this week. Both my wife and I have it currently. I'm going to have to burn the mic cover here when we're done taping this show.
Lysol, spray it. Just spray it
yeah, that'll work too. Yeah. That'll work too. In the event that I was not able to participate, Carla and AJ went ahead and basically prepared the entire show. Fortunately, my symptoms are not awful. I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling okay. But if I were to talk through this whole thing like I usually would, I would make it through about halfway, I think. So what we're going to do, since Carla was prepared to do this anyway, Carla, it's all yours. It's all yours. Take it away.
I get to do this again.
You get to do this again.
It's the second time in a season. Awesome. So, okay. So that means, okay. So hi, I'm Carla. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and I hate college football. Because you knew that one of us was going to be that way this week, right?
It's had to happen.
It had to happen. So, so yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. I have some thoughts about that game. It's shocking, I know, but yeah, AJ's here too, and AJ had a lot of fun pulling in some games we're going to talk about this upcoming weekend.
Yes.
So, but before we get to the good stuff this weekend, we need to rewind and go back to what we saw last week. And AJ, I think you probably have the most bonkers look back. So why don't we start with you on your look back? Because please tell us about this game.
Yeah. So last week I said it was an early bedtime.
You did.
And I tried. Okay. Normally I'm the one who stays up late. And I tried to go to bed early because I looked at all the scores and I was like, everything here seems pretty well tied up. This is pretty good. I'm just going to go to bed. We'll check scores in the morning. And I get a message from some friends that just says Fresno ? And I'm like, wait, why Fresno? Because they're kind of bad, right? No. The late night god has returned. I thought he was done for the season. No. Jake Haener out of nowhere is back playing San Diego State. And they were down. And then all of a sudden, they're like, I think they were down by 10. And they go down and they score a touchdown. San Diego State's playing like half prevent, like, we're going to let you score, but we're going to get the ball and then we'll kneel and then this game will be over. So Fresno kind of rolls down the field, scores a touchdown. And then obviously goes for the onside kick. And this kicker, normally they do like the onside kick and they try to like bounce it up into the air and then it tries to be like a jump ball.
Right.
No. This kicker kicks like a 30-yard knuckleball just down along the ground, like it's rolling this way. And then it takes the crazy hop, like a second baseman can't field the ball, hop right in front of a San Diego State player. He touches it, it bounces over his shoulder, and a Fresno State player comes screaming down the sidelines and falls on it. So Fresno State gets the ball at like the, 45-yard line.
Yeah.
One play. 10-yard slant route, receiver breaks a tackle, takes it to the house. Fresno State scores 2 touchdowns in 13 game seconds.
Wow.
To take the lead. San Diego State comes out. Mind you, San Diego State is on their like 4th string quarterback who actually started the season as a safety. He was not a quarterback to start the season. He was a safety to start the season. And he immediately throws a pick. Fresno gets the ball, takes a knee, and wins the game. It was one of the most bananas things. It was one of those like, well, you know, when you're watching a game and it's late and you're like trying to have that like last little bit. Well, if we score a touchdown and we get a 2-point conversion, then we can score, we can get the onside, then we can score a touchdown and then we'll win. Fresno did it. So Fresno actually did it. Like all the things that you think about, it's like, well, what could happen? It did it. It did happen. And
It
Fresno
happened.
did it. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's
It-
definitely better than most of the stuff that I saw, because I would definitely was not still up to watch the end of the Fresno series.
No, I was not either. But
Did
seeing
I?
seeing a replay of that sequence, just like jaw on desk.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous. Crappy.
Uh my view of Saturday is probably a bit different than yours. And I'm not gonna dwell on this a whole bunch because that'll gloating that'll feel like gloating, and that's not something we do on the Carla and Crappy show much.
That's not true.
Okay. But no, it's there aren't a whole lot of opportunities for Ohio State in the conference season to get tested. And Penn State was one of them. It is a road game. It is a very, very good team, a very good defense. Probably the best defense the best defense we've seen this year, except for Iowa. But also the best test for Ohio State's defense in Penn State's offense. And Sean Clifford had there was a rough start, although not really his fault.
Right.
But it's nice to be able to kind of keep checking off boxes, and seeing progression, and doing it when the team is obviously, I don't know if you can describe Ohio State's offense as depleted at any point, but with
That's
Mayan,
rude. That's a rude thing to say.
This is real. We're being real here. But with Mayan hurt, and the wide receiver core. Marvin Harrison Jr. was basically the only one who showed up for the first half, but still got it done. So that was a dicey game for a while for me, and that's the first time I felt that way this season. And leave it to Penn State to do that to me, because they always do. But yeah, the other thing I would point out, and this is actually this week, not last week, but since it happened before we taped the show, I would point out that that's here that my Ohio Bobcats pretty much crushed the MAC East leading Buffalo Bison. Are they the Buff? What are they? Are they the Bison?
The Bulls.
The Bulls. Yes, I think you're right. In Athens on Tuesday night for the start of MACtion, folks. Action.
Woo!
It's that did the full conference plays Tuesday and Wednesday night next week, so don't miss it. We're not gonna, but seeing the Bobcats take care of business, and after being publicly critical of Tim Albin, I have to say he is quietly putting together, at least in conference, a good season. So let's see what they do for the rest of the year.
Okay. So yeah, we have opposite takes on that one big game, the big naked game. So my thought is this, and that is, this game hurt more than the Michigan loss, because this was a game that Penn State could have won. Mm-hmm. They were in the game all the way through.
Yep.
You cannot turn the ball over 4 times against the number 2 team in the country and expect to win. But the fact that game came down to the fourth quarter, and we were texting, and I said, please let me know when you get caught up on the game, because I need to send you the text that I want to send right now, which was the pick 6 that pretty much sealed the deal. And in all caps, I screamed, I hate college football.
I hate college football. I had to leave. We were getting my wife had tested positive on Friday night, and we were taking her to get a confirmation test for work. So I had to leave with 9 minutes left. And Penn State had just scored.
Yep.
So if you watch that game, you will recognize 9 minutes and then all the stuff that happened after that. I saw none of that live. I saw none of it. So I did not, until we got back from the minute clinic. I did not know how all that stuff came together. Yeah,
it was painful to watch live. And as soon as you saw the pick 6, it was like, that's it. That's it. And I cannot remember that player's name. Help me.
JTT. That's all you need. JTT. That's all you need.
Okay.
I don't remember his last name either.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas at the age of 55, somehow on the field.
Yeah.
I don't
right.
know.
I mean, what a game, right?
Yeah.
Pick six, forced fumble, another interception, I think. He pretty much accounted for
sack.
most a sack. Yeah, he pretty much accounted for most of the Ohio State turnovers, or Penn State turnovers. Just played outside of over his head, and like you can't. There's nothing you can do about that kind of situation, right? From Penn State side, it's just like when you got a kid who plays over his head in a big time game like that. There's nothing you can do about that. So yeah, I mean, here's the good thing. I'm looking at the schedule and going, Penn State should finish the season with only 2 losses. So, let's book our trip to the Outback Bowl, annual trip, Penn State trip to the Outback Bowl, and just call it, hey, not a terrible season. The other thing that I noticed, holy K-State, holy K-State, with a backup quarterback. Thank you very much. Just crazy stuff out of my Power Cats. Shutting out Oklahoma State's first time Oklahoma State's been shut out in a long time. I don't remember the exact date, but I know it's been a long time since the Pokes have been shut out. And here's the thing, like this is the crazy thing. I didn't see any of that game. Because I saw the score, and then I was, I'm married to a Florida grad, so we were watching the cocktail party. And so I'm like, I'm going to go to Target. So I left and went to Target, but I'm listening to the K-State call on the radio as I'm driving to go to Target. And they're just like cool, calm, and collected calling this game. And like every time K-State touches the ball, they're scoring. And it's just like they're calling it like a normal game. I'm like, wait, guys, do you understand what's happening here? Like,
no,
it was
they
just
don't.
Like, it was just like, no, this is normal, whatever. So suddenly the case or the TCU win over K-State looks that much better, I think. If K-State's going to continue to play this way to finish out the season, and could we be seeing a rematch of K-State TCU for a Big 12 title? Heck yes, I think we could. I think we could. So yes, I'm still obsessed with the Big 12 apparently. And even though I didn't see that game, like that was just bonkers. The other thing, the weekend was so bonkers, I don't even remember what happened because I had to go look this up because I forgot that it happened. Oh yeah, Missouri beat South Carolina. Like the same South Carolina team that beat Texas A&M a couple weeks ago.
You know what? I got to be really honest. Who hasn't beat Texas A&M at this point? Miami. It's just you, Miami. That's it.
That feels appropriate too. That
I mean, right. It is. They lost to App State. They're paying Jimbo $95 million for this. They're paying Jimbo $95 million to take L's in the SEC. It is incredible.
With a record that's not any better than someone's.
It's actually worse.
Yeah.
It's actually worse. Hold on. Let's just go ahead. Crude oil.
Yep. And while you're looking that up, I guess cheers to the Iowa Hawkeyes who finally scored more than 14 points in a game.
Congratulations, Iowa. You did it.
Found an offense for one game against Northwestern. Northwestern still not won a game in this continent.
No, they haven't. We are at $89 a barrel for crude oil right now. So
okay.
If we break 100, yeah, that buyout's happening.
Okay.
But this is, I'm not kidding. For those of you who are not as in depth with this, Texas A&M, most of their booster money comes from oil and gas. So if you want to know the feeling and how ready they are to do something, just check the price of a barrel of crude oil. That'll tell you everything you need to know, specifically the Permian Basin, but that's most of Texas. But just if you're looking to see what the temperature is for Jimbo, if the price of oil is down, Jimbo's safe. That's all. That, by the way, that press conference that he called in like April to like just be mad as hell at Nick Saban, looks pettier and pettier and stupider by the day.
Yes, it does.
It does. It does.
Hey, Carla, real quick, who's Texas A&M playing this weekend?
I don't even remember. I know
they're playing Florida.
No, that's right. Yes.
We'll get to them in a moment. Hey, Carla, what happened to the CFP rankings this week?
What happened to CFP rankings? Yeah, so that's the thing. They were released on Tuesday night, first rankings, and normally we'd be recording this show on Tuesday nights and have like immediate kind of reaction out of it, but we're doing this on Wednesday. So we've had a day to kind of digest what we think. So let me give you a quick rundown in case you haven't seen them. Number one, your Tennessee Volunteers.
We all saw this coming. We all saw this coming. Don't play around. Tennessee #1 first playoff ranking. We all saw this coming at the beginning of the year.
Number 2, Ohio State. 3, Georgia. 4, Clemson. First 2 out is 5, Team Up North. And 6, Bama, with the top 10 being TCU, Oregon, USC, and LSU. Any initial thoughts? Crappy, I'll go to you first. What were your thoughts on the rankings? I've got a couple thoughts.
Clemson?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been paying attention to them all year, and it's a good team. They're not. I mean, if the committee's looking at this like these, if we're ending the season right now, these are the 4 teams. There is absolutely no way Clemson, TCU should be ahead of them. Michigan should be ahead of them. Alabama should be ahead of them. Period. To have Clemson in the top 4 is ridiculous.
I concur. That was one of my thoughts too. AJ, did you have any thoughts on the? I know it's a little bit outside of your purview here.
Yeah, there's too many teams that I've never heard of before. So I got a message from a friend of mine who said, why is TCU? He's a TCU fan. If you're listening, hi Dave. He's a TCU fan, and he asked, why Clemson ahead of TCU? And I said, well, number one, Clemson has the playoff committee has a tendency to give credit to historical success.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
And then they will start with recent success, and then they will go to historical success. This is why Tennessee's #1. And he was like, Tennessee #1, what's that about? I was like, it's also the first playoff ranking. It doesn't matter.
No.
And I said, if you would like, he's like, TCU should be 4th or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, let's break this down. Tennessee and Georgia are going to play each other this weekend. Ohio State and Michigan are going to play each other before the end of the season.
Yep.
So the top 5, 2 of those teams are going to have 1 loss before the end of the season.
Yep.
Full stop. That's just how sports work, right? And then you have Clemson, who doesn't face a ranked team before the end of the year, before the ACC championship game, in which they will likely play UNC. So, yeah, it's very plausible that Clemson goes undefeated, wins the conference, and then you have an undefeated Clemson who's a conference champion. You're going to put them in the playoff. Just right. That's how it goes, right? And then you have TCU. You also don't face anybody ranked. Actually, I take that back. Excuse me. Let me put some respect on the Texas Longhorns at 24. You play Texas and then potentially K-State again in the Big 12 championship. Can K-State beat you in the championship game? Because now you're doing a rematch situation. That usually doesn't spell out well.
Right.
So win out, you're in the playoff. That's how this is going to go. Alabama plays LSU this weekend, and then they will likely play either Tennessee or Georgia in the SEC title game if they win the West. So like the 3 or 4 SEC teams in the top 10 will sort itself out.
Yep.
The 2 teams in the Big 10 who are in the top 10, that will also sort each other out.
Yep.
Right. So there is I think there's a clear path for TCU to get into the playoff. If you're a TCU fan, there's a clear path for you to get in. Clemson also has a pretty clear path. And by the way, judging by game on paper and advanced stats, the Clemson defense is number 31 and their offense is number 18. Or sorry, other way around. Their defense is number 18. Their offense is number 31. They are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're a bad team who hasn't played anybody. I do think they've played a relatively butt ACC schedule, but that's the ACC and they can only control what they can control.
Right.
Georgia pasting Oregon, I think looks really great when Oregon is sitting there at number 9, but that was also before they knew what to do with Bo Nix, and Bo Nix is playing wildly better than they played last time. So I could absolutely see Georgia and Oregon playing again, and that game not being a 49-0 game. I still think Georgia wins, but I don't think it's a 49-0 game anymore.
No.
So I think right now this is fun. By the way, real quick trivia question: who was the very first #1 college football playoff ranked team? The very first one in the very first ranking.
I used to know the answer to this question.
It's Mississippi State. So in case you're wondering how goofy the first ranking is, it's usually because it's mid-October. We only know a little bit, and the bigger, heavier back-end schedules haven't happened yet.
Right.
Yes.
So I would settle down about the number one ranking and who's in the top 10, play your games, play your schedule. Schedule watch, scoreboard watch all you'd like to, but you still got to win your games.
Yep. Yeah, no, that was kind of my thing. Like I like the number one Tennessee did not stun me. Like based on who has the best win right now, it's Tennessee. Beating Alabama, I think that gives them the number. Like that didn't stun me because again, it's gonna sort itself out, right? So 1, 2, and 3, as long as they were all within the 1, 2, and 3, like I was fine with that. I had a hunch the committee was gonna go UT1. Again, the Clemson thing, you outlined it really nicely there, AJ. But like to me, the argument against TCU was that they hadn't the teams that they played that were ranked since dropped out of the rankings. But the same thing can be said for Clemson. And TCU won against 4 straight ranked opponents. Clemson's beat 3 ranked opponents, and all of those games were close. And the other knock against TCU was the fact that they've looked mortable at times, right? West Virginia, but so has Clemson. So the arguments that they keep putting against TCU, yes, I think this is entirely a historical thing that puts Clemson at number 4 right now. If I'm doing the college football rankings, Horny Toads are number 4. I think they're the 4th best team in the country, and they've done the most in recent memory to come back, persevere, and beat West Virginia, and then go out and, it's TCU has done the most recently. To me, the committee tends to favor that, so I'm actually quite surprised that TCU is all the way at 7.
I think having TCU at 5 or 6 would have been a thing. Yeah, but then you can also play the head-to-head game. TCU versus Alabama. Who are you picking?
Right now, probably Alabama, but the game's tight.
TCU versus Michigan.
I would take TCU.
Might be taking TCU. Depends on where we're playing.
TCU versus Clemson.
TCU.
Okay. So what you would really be having there is Bama at 4, TCU at 5. I honestly like to play that little head-to-head game of okay, you don't like the teams who are in front of you. Right. Your team versus their team at a neutral site tomorrow. Well, who's winning?
Right. Well,
and most people would pick Bama ahead of TCU.
Yep.
I honestly probably pick Michigan over TCU right now. Listen, I love you, Hypnotoads. I really, really do. But nope, that's not where I wanted to search. I wanted to search here. I wanted to search for a specific statistic because TCU against the run is the number 60th, high 50s, almost 60th ranked rushing defense. Michigan would absolutely run all over them. JJ McCarthy wouldn't have to move his arms. So that's the sort of thing where it's their defenses, they have a number 100 ranked pass defense. TCU's defense is kind of butt. Their offense is fantastic. They play not great defense, and that's what's pulling them down in those rankings. Now, they could absolutely do that. They could, go ahead, steamroll Texas Tech. They have who's left? We have TCU has we're still not even into the actual talking about the actual upcoming schedule.
I know.
But TCU has Texas Tech, Texas, Baylor, and Iowa State.
Yeah.
Put the clamps on those 4, and we could talk about moving you up. But right now, nope. I'd probably have Clemson beating TCU too. That's not a knock on TCU, but I think all 3 of those teams are going to put points up on your defense. Now, can those defenses stop your team? That's a different story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how TCU's beaten teams all year this year. Is that they just score more points. We could have a long debate about number 10 LSU because I have thoughts about that, but we're also have a whole bunch of games that we need to get through this week. And so we will see what happens. That's going to sort itself out because there's a big game. We're going to talk about them here in a few minutes. They've got a big game coming up this week, but before we get into our full schedule, we have to ask Crappy what's going on with our Big Red Bears.
The Big Red Bears. Last weekend was the first week of a 2-week stretch where they're playing the best teams in the conference. And on the road against Princeton, it went about as you'd expect. The 35-9 was the final score. It's interesting because I continue to see a lot more creativity, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And this was actually a tight game for the first half, and entertaining, because what they do when they have the ball, the play calling is it's a lot of fun. They have a mobile quarterback who is difficult to deal with. I wish the defense was better. And then you'd hope for a little more consistency, but in the end, Princeton is a better team. Personally, my nephew did not play again because of the dreaded high ankle sprain, and to be honest, I don't know if he's going to be playing or not this weekend. You can look for that in the show notes. I will find out by the time that we get the show published. They're at home, but they are also playing Penn, which was undefeated until last weekend when they lost to a Brown Bears team. What was the song, AJ? Big red brown bears,
and a big red bears and a big brown bear.
I don't know how they went, but
and they played a football game. That's what it was.
They played a football game, and the big red bears beat the brown bears. So the transitive properties here suggest that Cornell is going to win this game handily, but we will see. We will see how that goes, and when we find out about Drew's status, we will let you know that as well.
Cool. So yeah, let's hope Drew plays, and let's hope the transitive properties of college football translate to the Ivy League.
Come on, transitive gods!
It has to, right? Because that's like the transitive property is like a smart thing.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Right?
It is.
Ivy
It's a big
League,
word. Really big, weird, big words.
Yeah, sure.
They know those things.
Go Big Red Bears. Okay, so this week's slate. We have approximately 72 games to talk about today this week.
Okay.
There's a lot of interesting stuff, and when I was going through kind of selecting out games, I was like, ooh, this is really interesting. Which I think, Crappy, that's happened to you a couple times this season too.
It has. I have fallen trapped to this the majority of the weeks this year.
Yeah, it's been really easy to fall down these rabbit holes. And then, of course, I asked AJ to add some of his stuff in here since we knew that he was going to probably be a part of this. And so we're not going to do a traditional Group of Five After Dark report. We just kind of mixed it all in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had 10 games on the schedule, and AJ added more. So we are going to do our very best speed round here with all three of us, in pretty much the person who put the game on the rundown has kind of more of the analysis to go through here. So we are going to try to go that route and just see how this all works. So everybody ready? We stretched, we carved, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I need an inhaler. I think I need it. All right, we're good. Let's go.
We're good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are starting early this week. And getting things going on Friday. Of course, it's the first week of action, so we've already started technically. So, so 7:30 Eastern Friday, CBS Sports Network, the network of champions. This is a game, shockingly, that AJ put on the schedule. UMass at UConn, and he says here in all caps, UConn is favored by 15.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is not quite so fun, 40. But AJ, I'll let you explain why this game is on our schedule this week.
I need you all to talk to your children about a bowl season UConn team. UConn has 4 wins right now. They are playing UMass this week. UMass, on the computer rankings, because they still do those. These are the old BCS computer rankings. They still do them. UMass is an almost unanimous worst team in FBS. Like 83 of the 100 computer rankings have UMass at the very bottom. So there's a pretty good consensus that UMass is just ass. So we have a good, a decent UConn team. UConn almost beat Utah State to start the season.
Yes.
If we all remember that, in Logan. They went across the country and put a scare into Utah State. We all went, is Utah State bad or is UConn good? The answer, both. So they're a 2-touchdown plus favorite. I'm saying this again, a 2-touchdown plus favorite against UMass. They will likely win. They play Liberty next week. Nope.
Yeah, that's not
great. No.
That's not going to happen. And they finish with Army.
Ooh.
That's plausible.
It unfortunately for the hat I'm wearing, it is. Unfortunately for the hat I'm wearing, it is.
Also, Crappy.
Hmm.
That's a look ahead. That's a letdown look ahead sandwich right there.
Yes, it is.
Because
it
who does
is.
Army play the week after they play UConn? They play Navy.
Navy. Yep.
So there is a possibility that
Wow.
UConn beats the troops to go bowling. Jim Mora, you know what? I laughed when they hired Jim Mora. I was like, oh, that's hilarious. Jim Mora is like, no, we're here for Huskies football. Go UConn, go bowling. I want UConn in the Bahamas Bowl or something stupid like that. Like, let's have that. Sure.
Yeah. Why not go bowling for the first time in how many years? Like, you should go to the Bahamas. Like,
right. UConn barely won 2 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They was like a true, actually, they lost to UMass last year. It was a true like celebration that they won 2 games last year, and they might go bowling this year. Amazing work, Jim Mora.
Crazy stuff.
There, go ahead, go UConn. We're here for Huskies football.
Nice. Crap, you got anything to add to that one?
I would go on the record as being in favor of UConn beating Army in that game if that is the difference for them to get a berth in the Bahamas Bowl or wherever else they send them to the Bahamas. Good Lord, let this that's got to happen. That's got to be the one.
Army losing to UConn is really service for our country.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on board.
And we're talking about bowl season, and it's the first weekend in November. I love it. Okay. Moving on. I have no thoughts on that game. Sure, UConn. 10:30 Eastern Friday. We got a late night. On a Friday night, we're staying up late. 10:30 Eastern Friday, ESPN 2, number 23, Oregon State at Washington. Washington favored by 3.5. AJ Fun Index of 56. Crappy, you have a thought on this game? I'm the one that put this game on the schedule. It's primarily for like one reason.
Number one, I will not be awake for this game. I can guarantee that. We're going for the whole the full Huskies slate on Friday. I like Washington and Michael Penix Jr. at home. Nice. For the upset, go Huskies, East and West of the East and West Coast varieties.
I like that. Nice. AJ, you have thoughts?
This one might be very fun. There's a reason why Washington's only favored by 3.5, and they're at home, which is effectively, this is a pick'em game in a neutral site.
Right.
The Beavers' passing offense is okay. Washington's pass defense couldn't stop a stiff breeze right now. This might be closer than it looks. Go Beavs. I'm taking the Beavs here.
Yeah, like I really, really want to pick Oregon State in this game because like high school mascot was the Beaver, right? Like we've talked about this before that like I'm kind of a closet Oregon State fan. But Michael Penix Jr.'s numbers are just stupid. Like they're video game silly. He's going to surpass 3,000 yards in this game, and maybe even in the first quarter. Like he's that close already. And Washington has the number 1 passing offense in the country. Beavs passing defense, eek. 67th. At the same time, Beavers passing offense is okay. As AJ said, Washington's pass defense non-existent. This game's fun. I think this is 56. That feels low.
56 feels real low.
This feels
low.
Like
a 35-31 type of game.
Yeah, exactly. I would say take the over, and unfortunately, I think I have to pick against. Well, yeah, I think I have to pick against my Beavs in this game. I think Huskies are the pick here just because of Penix. If this game was in Corvallis. If this game was in Corvallis, I think I would pick this game differently. But the fact that it's in Seattle, I'll take the Huskies at home. Unfortunately, moving to Saturday. Noon Eastern, CBS. We're going a different route to start the weekend. Serving your troops, the Commander-in-Chief clinching game. Air Force at Army. Air Force favored by 7. AJ Fun Index of 40. Take one stab as to who put this game on the schedule. AJ, it's all yours.
Me. It is me. This is a Commander-in-Chief clinching game. Air Force is real good. Army's not. If Air Force wins, they've already beaten Navy this year in a 14-10 barn burner. If they win, they will clinch the Commander-in-Chief trophy, and Army and Navy is just for tradition and singing second. The only exception I will make to the fun index, which I usually like to be very high, the only time I will make an exception is for option football. And if you want option football, you want the service academies. I expect Air Force to win. I expect them to clinch the trophy. Everybody can be mad about it. Air Force is the best option service academy this year. So, Crappy, I know you have your Army hat on. Tell me your feelings.
Army training, sir. Ooh, that hurt. That was painful, actually. I should not pick Army in this game. I'm going to anyway. Go Army.
Hey, listen, go with your heart. Go Army, beat Air Force. Go Air Force, beat Army. Like, I also love the fact that there's just like the go your service academy, beat other service academy, and all three of them have this because
yes.
If the military is nothing, it is repetitive.
We're
Carla,
good at that.
How do you feel about this?
And petty sometimes too.
Yeah.
So again, AJ, last time we did a show together, I made you laugh by saying that I still think it's hilarious that Air Force doesn't have a passing offense. I still find that to be hilarious, but I also think that the Air Force is the better team this year. And so I think Air Force is the pick in this game.
Also, hammer the under. If you're gonna bet this game, hammer the crap out of that under. This is also a 14-10 barn burner.
There is a thing we can all agree on. Yes.
And by the way, if you just go ahead and put your bet in now on the Army Navy under 2. Just go ahead and do
it. It doesn't matter what that
does not. No, that literally does not miss. There's Army Navy under never misses.
It never misses. Okay, moving on. Something that we're very, very familiar with at this point. Big Nude, Fox. Texas Tech at number 7. Again, we are using the college football playoff rankings now. So number 7, TCU. TCU favored by 9.5. AJ fun index of a very fun, highest that we've had on the show, tied with one of the games that we had our week.
Look at that.
69.5
nice
points. I'll go Crappy first on this one, since you're just kind of looking at this all of a sudden and going, huh.
This is tough. I mean, I'm as an Ohio State person, obviously familiar with Quinn Ewers and just kind of watching out of morbid curiosity what happens with him in Texas. And since his injury early in the season, he's played better. He is showing glimpses of the promise that landed him in Columbus and then landed him in Austin. I'm not going to let up on TCU here, though. The defense is not good, which is why they've had to make the comebacks that they've made. They had to do it at WVU last weekend. At home, perhaps a bit more comfortable. But yeah, I'm the TCU Horny Toads win this at home.
AJ, your thoughts?
I hope TCU comes out, plays with an edge. I really do. Texas Tech, you're right. They beat Quinn Ewers, Quinn Ewers Texas team. Texas Tech, they're number 1 in plays per game at 86. They are not successful at all on those. They are number 81 in EPA and number 62 in success rate. They're real bad. They run a ton of plays. Their passing offense, which you would think would be very good, is not. They are like number 105 in passing offense, even though they are number 1 in passing plays per game. You would think you might want to move on to something else if that's the case, but that's the way your offense runs. Good news for Texas Tech, though. TCU's pass defense is real crap. So you might be able to be a little successful here. Texas Tech has a relatively stiff defense. This is the inverse of what you normally expect from Texas Tech, because most of us remember the Mike Leach years. This one could get a little spicy, but I expect TCU to win. TCU needs to come out and absolutely whomp Texas Tech in order to kind of, if you want to be higher than 7th, whomp Texas Tech, and let's go for it here.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I hearken back to what we talked about last week on the show, is like, are we underrating TCU? And I still think, personally, that's happening. But I think you're right, making a statement win against a Texas Tech team that has a decent defense by Big 12 standards. They're still not in the top 2 in the Big 12. We'll get to those top 2 teams here shortly. But Texas Tech came out and tried to leverage this is our year in the Big 12 after they beat Texas, and it hasn't worked out that way. And if anything, TCU is trending in the right direction, continues to trend in the right direction. The big question here is is Texas Tech's defense legit? They've played well. Are they legit? Can they slow down that Horny Toads offense enough? Slow down Max Dugan enough to be able to keep up? Because you're right, the Red Raiders offense is not what you would expect. So yes, of course, I'm on the Horny Toads bandwagon this year. I'm taking the Horny Toads here, and I think you're right. I think they need to win big. They need to win by more than 9.5 points, I think, to really kind of get the committee's attention. Okay. Also at noon Eastern on the Big Ten Network. This one probably was a head scratcher as to why I put this. I'm the one that put this one on the schedule. Maryland at Wisconsin. Wisconsin favored by 5 at home. AJ Fun Index of a not so fun 50.5. I'm going to go ahead and say why I put this on the schedule, and then I'll ask the other two what they think. Maryland's already bowl eligible. They're 6-2. They're right in the thick of things in the Big Ten East for now. Yet Bucky is favored by 5 at home. I guess they're accounting for the Terps defense, which isn't great. Quarterback matchup here should be really, really fun to watch because you've got younger brother Talia Tagovailoa, who has 2,000 yards on the season and 13 touchdowns, and he missed a game. And Graham Mertz, who has been at Wisconsin for 47 years, has 1,630 yards with 17 touchdowns. And Maryland has never beaten Wisconsin. They're 0-3 all time. This is the year. I think the Terps beat Bucky in Madison. I think this is the year that the Terps do it. That's just my kind of gut here. I think they're motivated. I think the Terps are motivated to win this game because they've never had the opportunity to do it. So that was why I put it on here. Because I thought the whole setup was kind of intriguing here. Crappy, your fellow Big Tenner. What do you think on this one?
I kind of like your pick. Maryland is the Big Ten team that gave Michigan a run for its money, and did that on the road. Their defense is almost non-existent, but playing Wisconsin, maybe that's not a big deal. I'm not sure. Yeah. Graham Mertz has been playing pretty well, particularly the second half of the season. But in terms of quarterback play, Wisconsin quarterback play pretty well. It might be different from Maryland quarterback play pretty well, if that makes sense. I like the Terps' shot here at winning this game on the road.
We agree on something.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew?
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? AJ, you're skeptical.
I don't know. It doesn't. Some math isn't math in here. Wisconsin's 4-4, but how much of that was the fine folks in the previous administration? Graham Mertz is not great, but he's also got only 6 picks to 17 touchdowns. I gotta be really honest. Give me Scotty. It's 0-4. Sorry, Maryland. It ain't happening. Listen, it's November. And it's time for you to go back to being Maryland. Okay. So
that's a good point.
There's always like September Maryland, and they beat Texas, and everybody's like, oh, here comes the Terps. And then they play the Big Ten, and they go, oh crap, we're still an ACC team. And they just kind of fall apart after a while. Yeah, this is Wisconsin. It's also in Camp Randall. They're going to be jumping around. The ESPN matchup predictor, according to ESPN Analytics, has a 60% chance of Wisconsin. No one believes in the Terps. Your defense is a shell. Go to your home.
Nope.
On that note, that gets us out of the noon slate.
That's out of the noon slate. We are now into the 3:30 slot.
We are finally into the mid-afternoon 3 to 3:30 slot. We're going to start at 3:00 Eastern on ESPN Plus. Baylor at Oklahoma. Oklahoma favored by 3.5 at home. The AJ Fun Index is an kind of fun, 57.5. AJ, you're the one that raised my attention to this game via the text, which is why I put it on the schedule. So would you like to disclose
my question, AJ, how did that happen television wise?
Yeah, so long ago, the Big 12 teams owned what was called their Tier 3 rights.
Right.
This is where, do you guys remember the Oklahoma Army game where Army took Oklahoma to overtime, but no one could see it because it was on pay-per-view?
I do.
Yep.
That was when all of the teams owned their own Tier 3 rights. And they could hold one game to put on like a local TV station or pay-per-view or whatever. When they signed their more recent TV deal, and if we'd like, and we won't have time. Maybe next week we'll talk about it. The Big 12 signed a new TV deal. We'll talk about it then. But they gave their Tier 3 TV rights to ESPN, and this is where Big 12 now comes into play. So at the very beginning of the season, there are a bunch of ESPN Plus games that are pre-picked. These are in the contract. So this year, Kansas at West Virginia, Ohio at Iowa State, that Tulane at K-State game, Texas Tech at Kansas State, which was also super fun, Baylor at Oklahoma this week, also West Virginia at Iowa State. So if you're looking for that game, also on ESPN Plus, and Kansas at Texas Tech. All of these are ESPN Plus games. These are predetermined at the beginning of the season. So theoretically, if Baylor and Oklahoma were playing to what we believe Baylor and Oklahoma should have been playing at, like last year and this year, this would have been like a really weird, good game to put on ESPN Plus. So these are predetermined. Other games, so member retained telecast. So like ULM at Texas is on the Longhorn Network. This is how Texas gets a couple games. UTSA at Texas was also on the Longhorn Network. They preload all of these. Very rarely do they split. There's only a few games where they actually pick networks. So Baylor at Texas is split between ABC and ESPN. It'll depend that week on how the mouse is feeling and where they put that game. So this was all preordained. But when I first saw it, I was like, what else is on the ESPN family of networks during this time period? And the answer is Penn State at Indiana and 2 Sun Belt games. And I was like, those felt like better games to put on television than Baylor, Oklahoma. That seems really weird. And then then I found out this whole contract thing. So ESPN is not doing this on purpose. This was all preordained. Sorry. So Penn State and Indiana, you will get that as your national broadcast, because Baylor and Oklahoma, you got to pay $5 for.
Right. Well, you made a preordained joke. So the church person in me says that this is the Presbyterian game of the week.
Hey,
absolutely.
I like it.
That checks out.
I like it.
Some of you get that joke. Crappy, you have thoughts on this game?
No. It's interesting. Baylor actually plays defense.
By Big
which
12
is
standards, yes.
Something of a rarity in that conference. I know, Oklahoma's been a whipping boy all season. I kind of think, I don't know, having stuff Oklahoma getting the season turned around is a relative thing, given the depths that they hit during the Red River rivalry. But I feel better about Oklahoma being at home, and getting it done in this game. So I'm gonna go with the Sooners.
Yeah, I was similar. I really wanted to pick Baylor in this game because, like you mentioned, defense, right? So Baylor's got the second best defense in the Big 12, second only to Iowa State. That's important. So I was going to take defense wins championships, right? And so I was going to say Baylor wins this game because Baylor can actually play defense, and Oklahoma's just been so up and down this season that who the heck knows which Oklahoma team's going to show up. Until you look and realize that Oklahoma just beat the pants off of Iowa State, the top defense in the conference. So the whole idea of the Baylor defense is going to be what wins them this game. Oklahoma just proved they could beat the best defense in the league. Why can't they beat the second best defense in the league? Now, there's a difference here in offensive firepower, right? Iowa's offense, not great. Baylor's offense better than Iowa State's, but is it enough to be able to keep up with an Oklahoma offense that can, if it gets its act together, put up points? I think the Sooners are the pick at home. If this game was in Waco, maybe I would think Baylor. But I don't know. I kind of feel like the Sooners are the pick here, and I wish it wasn't that way. I don't know. I kind of wanted to pick Baylor, but I'm going to take the Sooners.
I'm also going to take the Sooners because the Wed Wibble Wibblewee game, and the reason that was so lopsided is Dylan Gabriel didn't play. He got knocked out in the previous game. So they were on a backup quarterback who is not nearly as good as Dylan Gabriel, and it showed. Dylan Gabriel is back. He's why Kansas took an L in their get right game. He's why they beat Iowa State. OU has stepped it up on defense recently where they can actually stop some people now. I'm going to go ahead and take the Sooners at home here too. Baylor is good. Their defense is fine. I think there's an opportunity here for OU to kind of say like, hold on, we're not dead yet, and kind of put their foot back into the whole Big 12 sort of picture. But yeah, give me the Sooners at home.
Okay, then we move on to the big one because we're going in chronological order.
And this is the Baptist game.
Okay,
yeah, that makes sense.
I think that works
3:30, in case you're wondering, 3:30 Easterns on CBS. Number 1 Tennessee at number 3 Georgia. Georgia favored by 8.5. AJ Fun Index of a pretty fun 65.5. Crappy, what are your thoughts?
Carlos notes say Georgia has looked mortal, and that's absolutely true. But in big games, when they've needed to be on, they're on. That's when Georgia looks like full on Death Star. How in the world would you ever beat this team? I expect them to be at that sort of level. I would think about this differently if it was at Tennessee. It is not. I'm picking Georgia.
Yeah, similar thoughts about venue here. I think plays a crucial role. AJ, what do you think?
This is all fireworks. And I did not have that on my calendar as Tennessee Georgia fireworks factory fire at the beginning of the season. Honestly, if Tennessee could do what they did on offense to Alabama, could probably do it to Georgia. If Georgia can slow down Tennessee, that's the thing. This is Tennessee's offense to go win. Their defense is fine. They don't have like a world killer defense like Georgia does. I don't think Georgia necessarily has a world killer offense. Their wide receivers are okay. Their tight ends are mutants.
Yes.
Brock Bowers is a literal mutant. He is not of the same species. That he is literally built different. I think Georgia kind of let Florida back into the game last week. Florida kind of brought it back ever so slightly. So I'm interested to see what Tennessee picked out of that. I'm interested to see what Georgia can do against Tennessee's offense. This is just going to be stupid and fun. I kind of want to just pick Tennessee because I think it's just going to be amazing to see a one-loss Georgia and a one-loss Alabama and weirdly undefeated Tennessee just Rocky topping it up in the hedges. Just incredible. Go ahead, give me Tennessee. Give me the balls.
You're gonna make a lot of people in my neighborhood very, very happy. The number of UT flags have just started popping up out of the woodwork now.
All I'm saying is I just made your husband real mad though. So
I mean, he was already real mad because Tennessee and Georgia, the top three teams in the country playing each other. He's like, yeah, that makes me feel real good. But that being said,
better.
Yeah. Yes, the UT offense is prolific. Yes, Georgia has looked mortal multiple times this season. But on yardage alone, nobody believes this. Stetson Bennett is Hendon Hooker's equal. They're within 10 yards of each other. And everybody is talking about Hendon Hooker and how he should be on the Heisman list. Absolutely, sure. Put him on the Heisman list. Stetson Bennett better be right there next to him on that. They're within 10 yards of each other. So here's the key to this game for me. It's Georgia's defense, right? Georgia's got the number 4 defense in the country right now. Tennessee doesn't. And that's kind of putting it lightly. And Georgia's playing at home. This all adds up to a dog's win for me. I think 8.5 is kind of silly. I think this game's going to be stupid close. It's going to be stupid fun. I almost want to say take the over here, but I won't because of Georgia's defense. This game is going to be just as entertaining, I think, as Tennessee, Alabama. If not maybe even more so, because these two teams feel like they're a little bit more evenly matched here, but I'm sticking with the dogs. I think Georgia is the team that's going to get this done because of that defense.
If I may, to quote Kirk Ferentz, offensive yards are overrated. They may be Stetson Bennett and Hendon Hooker may be within 9 yards. It is 9 yards of each other. In fact, Stetson Bennett has more.
Yes.
But Stetson Bennett has thrown 9 touchdowns and 3 picks. Hendon Hooker has thrown 21 touchdowns and 1 pick. That's the difference, kids. And he's also done it on, if I can math correctly here, 48 less passes. So
I give you all that. I give you all that. What does Georgia do on the goal line? They hand the ball off.
They hand the ball off. They're let's see. I'm digging into this. I'm digging into the stats. I'm digging into the crates here because I want to understand this. Their top running back, Dewan Edwards, has 7 touchdowns. Kenny McIntosh has 6. I mean, they have 28 touchdowns on the ground and 13 through the air.
Yep.
So, and that's including 4 from a backup. So, yeah, this is definitely a running heavy team, especially when you have Brock Bowers as your tight end. Darnell Washington, right, I believe, is out. Brock Bowers is still there. So again, this should be stupid fun. Normally, I don't like watching SEC football on a Saturday, especially a 3:30 game, because it's always usually overhyped. But a 1-3 Tennessee Georgia game, yes, put it right here.
Yep. And so because of that, the next game we're going to talk about is going to be could be a dandy of a game that absolutely nobody will see, and that is on FS1, 3:30 Eastern. Number 18 Oklahoma State at Kansas. Pokes favored by 2. AJ fun index of an appropriately fun 65.5. Crappy, any thoughts on this one?
Well, can we get on the Rock Chalk Bowl eligibility train like we did for UConn?
I've been trying to be on that train for multiple weeks now. Like, we keep trying and
you have been,
Kansas keeps letting us down.
I'm concerned here because there are 2 home games left for the Jayhawks. And one road game might be possible. That's next week at Texas Tech. This weekend Oklahoma State visits Texas or visits Kansas. 2 weeks Texas comes to Kansas. They're not, and then the wrap of the season at K-State, and that ain't happening. We just need one. We need one win.
We need one win
out of here in one of these games. This is a possible win. I just don't like. I feel like Oklahoma State is going to be in a kind of get right situation. After they got whomped last weekend. I want to pick Kansas. I really do. I don't think this is it. So maybe in the next couple weeks at Tech or Longhorns at home, that's when we got to get Kansas over the hump. I'm not sure this is the week it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm very concerned that our Jayhawks are going to start the season 5-0 and then miss bowl eligibility. That's a real possibility here. AJ, have any thoughts on this one?
I feel like there might be something fun happening. Jalen Daniels was supposed to be done for the year. He is currently listed as an or at first on the depth chart
at QB1
this week's game for QB1. So he might play. He might be able to spell Jason Bean, who's looked good, not great.
Yeah.
He's doing some things. He was out there yesterday. We'll see. This is what Lance Leipold said. That probably goes for Kobe Bryant, who's a CB as well. Kansas has been decimated by injuries, and Kansas is Kansas. They're not Alabama, so they don't have the depth to be able to just next man up. Every coach will say, next man up, next man up. There's a reason why there's a starter and a backup, right? So Kansas has been dinged up. I could see them definitely getting some guys back. They just had a bye week, I believe. Getting some people back, potentially making a run. Beat Texas. Just do it. Just beat Texas. He beat them last year in DKR. Now they got to come to Lawrence. Beat him in Lawrence too. And then get Texas Tech. Show me a 7-5 Kansas.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be great. You know what? Screw it. Rock chalk. Go beat the Pokes. Make Mike Gundy pay.
Make Mike Gundy
have a bad week.
And a bad hair day. Kansas last week just couldn't get anything going on the ground, right? Like they just couldn't get any sort of ground game going against Baylor. Baylor defense, again, pretty good by Big 12 standards. So like that's the key here. Like establish a ground game. If Jason Bean ends up being the quarterback, like you got to take some of the pressure off of him, right? So you got to try to alleviate some of the pressure depending on who your starting quarterback is, force Oklahoma State into a mistake or two, because that's how Kansas State, really kind of put the throttle down last week. Kansas can absolutely win this game. And I think this is, when we're getting on the edge of bowl eligibility here, I think they kind of almost need to win this game while they're facing an Oklahoma State team that's kind of down, because I'm on the fence on the Tech thing. Like, I don't know if they can, that just doesn't feel like a good matchup. So I'm going to say, as I say every week, go get yourselves bowl eligible, Jayhawks, please. I'm tired of asking every week that this is your week. So please do it this week. Okay. Moving on from the 3:30 slate, because everybody's gonna be watching that game on CBS. So we're gonna go to another really fun game, 7 Eastern on ESPN, not ABC this week. So ESPN, number 6 Alabama at number 10 LSU. Bama favored by 13.5. AJ Fun Index 7. Okay, 58. Crappy, you got thoughts on this one?
That line is stupid. That line is stupid. I don't know if LSU is for real. They've looked at the last couple weeks. The quarterback whose name I do not recall. There's a switch somewhere on his body, and someone figured out where it was, and suddenly he is playing like he means business. This is tough. LSU is my favorite SEC nighttime environment. Boy, I'm gonna pick LSU. Really, really tight. This is gonna be the coming out game for the family, and yeah. Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Family.
Family.
AJ, your thoughts?
I feel like Alabama, this was their bye week, I think, wasn't it? They had a bye week before this game.
No, they not.
Oh no, that's right. That's right. They beat Mississippi State.
Mississippi State.
Yeah. Same thing.
They had a bye week. I feel like Saban is like, I feel like there's like a knife he wants to start turning. Like he wants to start poking and turning and saying like, hey, we lost to Tennessee. We've been playing sloppy all year. We barely beat Texas A&M. That wouldn't have been a good win or a good loss for them.
Yeah.
I feel like Bama is going to come out and try to murder LSU. Just like, hey, it's Bryce Young, Jahmyr Gibbs time. Like, nope, we are going to go out and we are going to prove. Oh, you want us at 6 because we have one loss? Adorable. And they're going to try and just absolutely destroy LSU. Give me Bama. Give me Bama and the points. Sure. Okay. I know that line seems stupid. Give me Bama and the points. They're going to come out and try to kill LSU.
And we knew that, right? Like, these last week we were talking about Mississippi State. We were like, yeah, this is the game that, whoever has to play, it becomes the sacrificial lamb after a Bama loss. Like, we're sorry, Klanga. Like, this is not going to be your week. And that's exactly what happened, right? So yes, you're right. The Saban is trying to get something going here.
I am also interested to see, just real quick, to see if Brian Kelly has discovered what to do in a big game.
Right.
Because he hasn't.
And exactly. And that's my question here, right? I put this here. LSU, are you for real? Yes, LSU knocked off a top 10 ranked Ole Miss team last week in a game that nobody paid attention to, right? So, like, unless you were a fan of either one of those two teams, like, it was just one of those games that just kind of flew under the radar. Everybody was watching other stuff. This is primetime, best game of the night on ESPN, home game that LSU, if they play up, can absolutely win. Can they? We've seen time and time again that Brian Kelly coached teams cannot close it out. And now they're asking the LSU defense to do it 2 weeks in a row against another prolific offense, right? Ole Miss's offense is crazy good. They did it 1 week. Can they do it again against Alabama? That's a big ask out of a defense to stop two offenses like that two weeks in a row. I think the line on this game, I'm crappy. I think the line on this game is silly. I think because the game is at home, LSU is able to keep it close, but give me Bama. Like, as long as Bryce Young is your quarterback, like, give me Bama and Saban and a road win. And Brian Kelly still can't get it done in a big game. Now, next year might be a different story. I think after a full year in the Bayou, I think we might be having some different conversations about LSU being back at the national level. I also think LSU being ranked at number 10 as a 2-loss team is very silly. And I know that the reason why the committee did that was to put them ahead of Ole Miss, who they just beat head to head. But there are other 1-loss teams that you could potentially put up there. But again, it's the first week of the playoff rankings, whatever. It'll all sort itself out. Anyhow, other game at 7 Eastern on FS1. This one should be stupid fun. Number 24, Texas at number 13, Kansas State. Texas favored on the road by 2.5 points. AJ Fun Index of 54.5. Crappy, any thoughts on this one?
I am not picking against Kansas State for the rest of the season. I will reserve my right to change that during bowl season. Regular season, Big 12 championship game, nope. Go K-State.
Go K-State?
Yeah.
Okay. Regardless of who's the quarterback. AJ, any thoughts?
K-State has a very, very good defense and a very good running attack. And Texas's run defense is good, not great. Give me the Cats. Easy. Keep going purple. We want an all-purple Big 12 championship game.
Yes, I definitely want to see an all-purple Big 12 championship game. And Little Manhattan at night. You want to talk atmospheres in the Big 12? Let's go.
Yeah.
That's one of the better night atmospheres in the Big 12, other than Bedlam. But I love night games at Little Manhattan. Kansas State hasn't beaten Texas since 2016. One interesting thing here. I mean, Texas coming off of a bye, offenses looked revitalized since Ewers returned. But their last game was a loss to Oklahoma State. And if the transitive properties of college football hold up, and we know they don't, but that loss to Oklahoma State,
they are laws.
That loss to Oklahoma State doesn't look quite as good anymore. Based off of what happened last week, this is a game Kansas State absolutely should win, but they've got the national spotlight. This is where, like, Kansas State seems to falter in these types of games year after year. They go out and they do something really good, and we say, this is Kansas State's year. They're going to go play for a Big 12 title, and then something silly happens, and it feels like that's what the setup is here. This is a game Kansas State should win. Will they? I'm taking the Power Cats. They're my Big 12 team. I want an all purple Big 12 final, but this game is super intriguing. So if you don't get completely enamored in what's happening in the Bayou, keep this game on the flip. I think it's going to be a good one. Even with the just kind of fun index. Another really interesting game, 7:30 Eastern on NBC or Peacock. Apparently they're doing it on both. Number 4 Clemson at Notre Dame. Tigers favored by 4 on the road, an AJ fun index of a not at all fun 44.5 points. Crappy, should I make you talk about 2 of your least favorite teams first?
Sure.
Why not?
Sure. This is the game 2 years ago where we got our first look at DJ. If you recall, the surfer dude was out with COVID, and he came in and played lights out. I think you could make the argument that's the best game he's played to date. Most consistent at any rate. And we know what happened. I don't know if it was last week and a couple weeks ago where he got benched at home because he was struggling. I don't know how that plays into what we'll see from Clemson this time around. I know Dabo was pretty clear that DJ was his guy, and it felt a little bit like the dreaded vote of confidence that if we're applying that thing to coaches and transferring it to players. This should be a Clemson win. Notre Dame has been playing better. If we're applying transitive properties, their performance against Syracuse versus what Clemson did against Syracuse would suggest that Notre Dame might be a better team at this point, and that's possible. And Notre Dame, there's that weird freaking Notre Dame thing that happens sometimes.
Yep.
And this would be the perfect situation for it. I'm going to pick Clemson. I would not be surprised if Notre Dame does that Notre Dame thing and squeaks out a win in this game.
I'm going to go ahead and jump in here because we have very similar thoughts on this game, because that was the same thing that went through my mind with the fact that this feels like one of those games that Notre Dame screws around and wins.
Yeah.
Right. It's at home. It's a night game in South Bend. You have a Clemson team that we're all a little skeptical about. Notre Dame seems to be getting its acts together at the right time to kind of, finish out the season on a super high note. Again, the Syracuse transitive properties, right? Clemson had to eke out a win at home against Syracuse. Notre Dame crushed the Orange in the Dome, right? That's a much more impressive win. And so you kind of get your head scratching a little bit. Yes, Clemson's defense is good, particularly against the run. But Notre Dame's offense is pretty balanced. They're not going to rely heavily on one or the other. So if they can't get the ground game going, are they going to be able to keep, that might actually play in their favor a little bit. But yeah, Saturday night in November in South Bend, Clemson's the pick here, but this is that dreaded keep this game on the flip. Right? Scoreboard watch this one. And if this game is close at the half, you're going to want to pay attention to this one, because here's the thing. I think it's possible that the Alabama LSU game is not interesting in the second half. I think that's a possibility. It could happen. And if that happens, this might be the game that we all end up flipping to. Because I think this game could be really intriguing, particularly late in the fourth quarter. Don't lose track of this one. AJ, what do you think?
This game won't be close. Will Shipley's going to run for 200 yards. Give me Clemson. It's not even close. I'm sorry, Notre Dame on a Saturday night. I've never heard a quieter place in my life. There's going to be so much shushing. All of the old people are going to be like, it's almost our bedtime. We can't get riled up now. Give me my sleepy time tea. I'm sorry. It's Notre Dame. This ain't it.
That's what I have in here.
Exactly. Sleepy time tea.
Oh,
so yeah, no, I don't believe in Notre Dame in any way, shape, or form. Y'all lost to Marshall at home.
Okay. Yes, point made very clearly. Okay, so we're gonna wrap things up early again this week. At 8:00 Eastern on the mythical ACC network. Number 21 Wake Forest at number 22 NC State. Wake favored by 4.5. An AJ Fun index of a 54. Crappy, you're enamored with the ACC. What do you think about this game?
I am not that enamored with the ACC to have a whole lot of thoughts about this game. I don't know what is up with Wake. The game against Louisville was just brutal. I don't know. Do you come back in what I guess we call it research triangle rivalry? I don't know if that is or not, if that exists during football season in that part of the country.
It does, but Wake's not part of it.
Yeah,
Wake's
okay.
on the other side of the state.
Yeah, but NC State at home. Wake's a mess right now. Yeah.
AJ, do you have thoughts?
I feel like you can only have 6 turnovers in a third quarter once, right? It's like a weird YOLO, I guess. But like, that feels like one of those things where it's like, that's like a really weird, stupid game where like everything broke all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And to be entirely honest, they lost the game to Louisville that they should have won on paper. But I'm sorry, when you turn over the ball 8 times, you're not winning that game.
Right.
So I feel like there were a whole lot of Wake Forest players having to carry footballs to class this week. I feel like there were a couple of Sam Hartman had to like throw footballs into trash cans all over the campus. I don't know. NC State is kind of sort of broken right now. They don't have a like distinct starter as a quarterback. I think Wake gets it together and goes to Raleigh and comes out with a win.
Yeah, as messed up as this game is, this game's kind of the hot mess express for me, right? Because both these teams really we don't know what's going on with either of these teams. Like, I agree, last week was probably an anomaly for Wake. But you have an NC State team that doesn't have a starting quarterback at this point, because we benched the second stringer, who is in now because starting quarterback is out for the year with injury. He got benched. It was the third string quarterback, Jack Chambers, who had to lead a comeback against a really, really not great Virginia Tech team last week. Like, I watched part of that game. It was on. And I was like, wait, Virginia Tech is beating NC State? Like, how is that happening? And then I was paying attention to like what was going on. And I was like, oh, it's starting quarterback. Like, there's all kinds of weird things going on. And it was the third stringer who came in and led that comeback, and they won the game by 1 point, right? 22-21. So honestly, if Wake can hold on to the football, this is a game that Wake should win. I think last week was an anomaly, but I put in my notes here, like, can an entire team have the yips? Right? Like, I
don't know.
Like, what? How else do you explain what happened last week? And are they going to be thinking, like, where's their heads going to be? Like, are they going to be overthinking it to the point that they actually continue to make turnovers, right? Because that happens to teams where they stress carrying the ball or holding on to the football possession, and then they do stupid things like turn the ball over in the first drive, and then everybody just freaks out. This is a game that Wake should win as long as they don't turn the ball over. So this is a scoreboard watch game for me. I'm just gonna keep an eye on it, maybe keep an eye on like turnovers and see what's happening there. But otherwise, I think the other games are going to be a little bit more entertaining. But this is something to keep an eye on, because both these teams are ranked, and it could have implications for a conference title game later in the season. I get to do the end of the show right now. Yay. Boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and a variety of other podcasting hosts. You can watch us on YouTube or on the show's Facebook page. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't, all together now, mind your own damn business. Be sure to come back next week to see just how wrong I was in particular, because I'm picking a lot of games with my heart this week. AJ,
I'm gonna be awful.
AJ, you had a fun game you wanted to play with us, so I'm gonna let you play this like mini game show thing.
All right, this is a mini game show. We've covered 12 games. I have 6 more.
Oh, God.
However,
okay. Yes.
We are not going to cover them in depth, because I haven't told either Carla nor Crappy what these games are.
No.
I've done this on purpose because Carla, I know, loves to do her research and understand all these things. Crappy actually did most of his picks this week the same way. Crappy's got a lot of practice. So I'm going to give you a game. You have 15 seconds to tell me who you think is going to win the game. All thoughts, no vibes. I'm not telling you what the spread is. I'm not telling you what the fun index is. I'm just going to give you the game. You tell me who's going to win.
Let's do it.
Carla, noon Eastern, ESPN, Florida, Texas A&M. Who you got?
Florida. I like them.
Crappy. Who you got?
Gators. Jimbo Death Watch continues.
Great. Next game, 4 p.m. on ESPN Plus, South Alabama at Georgia Southern.
Georgia Southern?
The only reason I put this game on here is because Kyle Van Treese is a Detmer god. Detmer is a stat to tell how great a quarterback is, in terms of how many touchdowns, yards, and interceptions they throw in a season. He is the clear leader.
Did Georgia Southern play at Ohio State?
No, they were the ones who beat Nebraska, got Scott Frost fired.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm that's where I'm going. Yeah.
Great. 7 p.m. on the NFL Network. Again, a channel I've never heard of. Houston at SMU.
Show ponies. Go SMU.
Houston.
Great work.
Thank you.
The main reason I put that on there is because that has an over-under of 66.5. Just a great game.
Fun.
7:30 p.m. ESPNU, a game that Louisville, I question why you scheduled this game. Seems like a terrible idea. James Madison at Louisville.
I scratched my head. I almost put this one on the rundown when I saw that. Yes. This is a game that James Madison could win. I think that it is a trap. It's totally a trap game, especially after they just knocked off Wake. James Madison used to be one of the teams that I managed when I was at Yahoo, so I'm gonna be real stupid and say James Madison.
Trap. Jimmy Madison. Trap.
Jimmy Mads. All right, next game, 7:30 p.m. ABC, your game day game, Florida State at Miami. For some reason, we didn't put this in the rundown, so you get it this time. Crappy, you're first.
Watch anything else. Florida State.
My gut here said Florida State too, and I have no reason for it. Sure.
Go Noles. By the way, I put in my notes, steer wide right of this game. And finally, 9:30 p.m. because there is a late game worth watching, in my opinion. 9:30 p.m. FS1, UCLA at Arizona State.
I like that UCLA offense. I will take the Bruins.
Bruins. Yep.
My brain says that's a trap game. I don't know why. I don't know why. Feels kind of trappy. That has been the rapid fire roundup. Where I pick some games and I just make Carla and Crappy not think about it. Just go with whatever feels right. That's all vibes. Thank you for joining us this week. Carla has told you to mind your business if you don't think we're a 5-star show. I'm going to say it again. If you don't give us a 5-star ranking, mind your business, keep it moving.
Please. Please.
I'll go ahead and give my final thought, so you can close this out, Crappy. So my final thought is, it's Indiana week, 3:30 Eastern on ABC. That's the reason. That's enough to cause heart palpitations, especially after a game that Penn State probably could have won. This is a game that Penn State should win because Indiana's defense is not good at all. But again, it's Indiana, enough to make me sweat a little bit. Other thing, I'm sporting my MTSU because sorry, we got the win last week, AJ. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So hey, it happens. Middle looks to continue its rebound at Louisiana Tech. That game's at 3 Eastern on ESPN Plus. A win here would get the Raiders within 1 win of bowl eligibility, and they've got a couple winnable games late in the season, so that would make them bowl eligible. So go win in Louisiana. Blue Raiders, please go. Crappy. You can have the driver's seat back. I'm done.
Hold on, I have one final thought.
Please do.
One final thought. Carla, we have a crap game that we need to talk about. Noon, ESPN 3, Robert Morris at Charleston Southern. Carla, how many wins do the Colonials have this year?
That would be a big fat 0 for our alma mater.
That is correct. How many wins does Charleston Southern have?
I have no idea.
1. Bobby Moe, go to Charleston, South Carolina, go get you some good food. Come
Do
home with
it.
the win, please.
Do it.
Come home with a win. We have butt watch. Bobby Mo butt watch is on.
We're sorry, we're sorry, Chris Shovelin. Have fun with that one.
Oh, folks, obviously, next Tuesday is election day. There are a lot of important things going on, and I'm not going to poke fun at election day because serious business. Actually, I will suggest don't get too caught up in watching election returns on Tuesday night. As we've seen it, as recent history demonstrates, we're not going to know. We're not going to know for days. What you should do instead is fire up some action. The Battle of the Bricks at Oxford, Ohio. My Bobcats against I have no words to describe Miami other than obscene ones that would get us a nasty rating on Apple Podcasts. So I'm not gonna. But I would point out a couple things. Bobcats have won 4 in a row. Unfortunately, they're 1-3 on the road this season. Miami is struggling right at 500-ish. Should be a win, but this is a rivalry game. You know how it goes. Go Bobcats. Carla, thank you for everything that you did this week and putting the show together. You did a marvelous job once again.
Even if
AJ?
we talk for 72 hours. Yeah,
yeah, it's fine. It's fine. 1 hour per game. You know, that's to be expected. AJ, thank you once again. The game show thing is interesting. We might maybe we could add that to Bullapalooza.
Yes.
Some games that we're not picking. I think that would be that with a big crowd. That would be a fun thing to do.
That would be fun. Yes.
And guys, thank you once again for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. Enjoy the games this weekend. Enjoy your early week action, and come back here next week when we will do it all again. Finally, boys and girls, cheers. Beat Michigan. See y'all.